Hello and welcome to Redoll's channel. Today I decided to restore this gorgeous Garden Party Barbie from 1988. This is the first doll from the 80s that I'm featuring on this channel, and since I was born in the 90s, by working with 80s dolls, I'm discovering a whole new world. She has definitely been played with a lot, and you can see that especially on her hair. It's very dry and matted, and she's actually missing a lot of it. She's also quite dirty, especially on her face and her legs. Looking at her hair more closely, I can see that she's actually missing a chunk in the front. Here it has probably been cut, as these short hair strands are poking out. She's also missing multiple hair plugs across her entire scalp, as you can see here. And additionally, a lot of her existing hair plugs are very thin. That's quite noticeable at the back of her head. So we have quite some work to do, but let's start with the usual. As always, I will brush her hair very thoroughly, using a pit brush. Since she has so little hair, this went by really fast. Now I'm sure you're wondering about her legs being tied up. When I got her, her legs were bent outwards, so I wanted to try if I can make them a bit more straight. So I tied her legs up like this for a couple of weeks. And as you can see, her legs are straighter right now, but the rubber band left some marks. I'll get back to it later, but let's go on and wash her first. In this step, I place the doll into a pail, add a dash of dishwasher liquid, and add enough hot water to cover the doll completely. I let her soak for a couple of hours to loosen the grime and dirt, to make it easier to clean her up. Since she's quite dirty, I'll start right away with the sponge, which is a little bit better at taking off stubborn dirt. In her case, I need to add a bit more dishwasher liquid and make sure I scrub her feet really well. And also make sure to wash her face really well. Whenever I'm dealing with dirtier dolls, I like to give them an additional scrub with a bit of baking soda. This just really helps remove any leftover grime or dirt and gives a really nice overall clean feel. I'm very careful when scrubbing her face to make sure I don't damage her face paint. Once that's ready, I rinse her really well and continue with shampooing her hair. Again, because she has so little hair, this is a very quick process. Then I rinse out the shampoo and add a generous amount of conditioner. I work it in really well and use a fine-tooth comb to comb out any remaining tangles. After that, I rinse most of the conditioner out of her hair, but leave some of it in for the next step. Now it's time to give her a boil wash, for which I use freshly boiled water from an electric kettle, and I let it cool below 90 degrees Celsius before I dunk the doll in. And as always, whenever you're working with boiling or hot water, please be very careful, because it could lead to serious burn injuries on the skin of your hands. So when boil washing doll hair, I like to also comb through it as I'm pulling it out of the hot water. I repeat these steps until I'm satisfied with the results. After the boil wash, I like to continue combing the hair under some cold running water. This really helps straighten out the hair and ensure that it's nice and smooth. And it also helps remove the remainder of the conditioner. Once I'm done with that, I gently squeeze out any excess water from the doll's hair and I gently dry her with a towel. Afterwards, I comb the doll's hair and I let her dry overnight. And here she is with her hair all dried up. Since Kanekalon can be a little bit stiff at this point, I again like to comb out the hair gently to give it a softer feel. Since she is missing so much hair, I decided to give her a partial reroot. For that I'm gonna use this Kanekalon hair I harvested from another doll, which seems to be a perfect match to her original hair. This hair belonged to the 1993 Gymnast Barbie. The reason she became a hair donor is because she arrived to me with a chewed up head. As you can see, she has multiple holes around her face, but don't worry, she will be used in my other projects. First, I'll start with preparing the hair. Since Kanekalon hair is so light and fluffy, I need to dampen it a little bit to make it easier to handle. See, it's very tricky when it's dry. So I'll just use a water bottle and make sure that I spray it really well until all of the hair is soaking wet. This is the first time I'm rerooting Kanekalon, so I'm learning along the way. And as I'm trying to take a hair strand from the bunch, I'm quickly finding out that this is not the right method. So I'll have to figure out something else. But for now I have my first hair strand, and instead of using glue to hold the hair in the doll's head, I like to put a knot at the end of each hair strand. So I wrap it around my finger like so, pull the shorter end through the loop, and slowly pull on the longer end only to make sure that the knot stays as close to the end as possible. Now this seems to be too thick of a strand, so the knot doesn't want to hold very well. So I'll have to work with thinner hair strands. So next, I'll try to take a bit less hair than I did last time. And again, I'll just make a simple knot at the rougher end of the strand. Since I cut this hair from an existing doll, the place where I cut the hair is a little bit rougher. That's why I'm making knots at that specific end. If you're working with brand new doll hair, you don't have to worry about this. If you harvest hair from another doll, it's better to check which end is rougher so that it can be hidden in the doll's head. It seems like I should be doing even thinner hair strands. It might seem like this is not enough hair, but once Kanekalon dries out, it's much fluffier. There, this holds much better. And after a while, I have a bunch of hair strands ready. To reroot the doll, I need to take her head off, and for that I like to heat it up so it's easier to pull off. This time I'm using a large beer glass and a big plastic bag to keep the doll from getting wet. So I'll put the doll into the bag and place her into the glass. This time I'm using 99-degree water because I want to show you what happens to Kanekalon when the water is too hot. I don't use much, only enough to cover the doll's head and neck. While I wait for the water to soften the head, I'll prepare my rooting tools. I got this set of large sewing needles from a trip to Japan, and I figured they'll be perfect for this project. I'm not sure which length is better, so I'll take these two. Now you can see what too hot water does to Kanekalon hair. Can you see how it frizzed up? But this can be fixed by doing another boil wash. So now her head is soft, and I can easily remove it. And we can see that she has this older, simple type of a neck peg. Next, I will use tweezers to remove the hair that was cut. I will gently remove it little by little to make sure that I don't damage the surrounding hair. And there we go. In the next step, I will push the eye of the needle through her head first. It's really handy if the head is still soft. It's also important to have a long enough needle so that the eye comes out just below the neck. To make things easier, I will now use a needle threader. So I'll push that through the needle, and I'll push the hair strand through the threader first, and then use the threader to pull the hair strand through the needle. At this point, I like to hold onto the knot when pulling the hair through the doll's head. Now when the needle comes through, I gently pull the hair out And then I tug on the hair strand until the knot is securely fitted in the head. And we have our first hair strand in. Now I'll repeat the same steps with the remaining hair plugs. So I push in the needle's eye first, use a threader to thread the hair through the needle, like so. And then I hold on to the knot and pull the hair through the head. Finally, I adjust the hair strand until it's fitted in the head. Now here's a situation when I accidentally let go of the knot and it went into the head first. When that happens, it might be very difficult to pull the hair strand out, as the knot is blocking the hole. So to make sure the hair doesn't break, it's better to gently pull on the hair with your fingers, finding out which end is the loose one. Otherwise, if you pull too hard on kanekalon, it can easily break. Her missing hairline is now complete. Now I will go through her entire scalp, looking for any hair plugs that are empty or are too thin. Here's a thin one. So you can see I'm not gonna remove the old hair, I'll just add a thinner hair strand on top of it. The method is exactly the same. And now the hair plug has more hair. I will also tackle this huge bald spot on the crown of her head. And here it is all filled up. Now the hair strands might be sticking out, but that doesn't matter because we're gonna give her another boil wash anyway. And if it bothers you, you can comb through the hair to make it blend in a bit nicer. So now the bald spot is gone, and I'll just look for more hair plugs that might be too thin. Now that I'm done with her head, I decided I want to add some hair across her forehead too. Her hair there is just way too thin, and it wouldn't look very nice. Since the hairline usually has much smaller holes, I'll use the tip of the needle first to stretch it out a bit, and only after that will I use the other end of the needle. This makes it easier to work with the hair, but also prevents the needle from pushing out her original hair. And again, I will just use a threader to help me get this hair strand through the needle. And there we have it. Here she is with a couple of more added strands, and I'll continue until her whole forehead is filled out. And this is how it looks like once it's done. The hair now looks definitely much better, and it's going to be much easier to style later. Now, as I said, I filled in the entire forehead, but I left all of her old hair where it was. I didn't remove anything. Now, since it looks so good, I decided to do the same for the back of her head. And at this point, I want to take the opportunity to tell you that I destroyed my threader. So I had to find another method. And for that, I'm just gonna use this other thread. Now, I tied the ends, but it doesn't really matter. All that matters is that you have this kind of a loop. Now you can put this loop through the needle, like so. And then you open the loop up and place your hair strand through that loop. Now just hold on to the knot and use the thread to pull the hair through the needle. See? Works just as well. And then continue with the usual steps. And now her hair is ready. It looks much nicer, much smoother, and much fuller. Again, as a reminder, I didn't remove any of her old hair. It's all there. I just added some new hair on top of it. I also didn't trim my hair strands, so you can see them piled up in the head, but it's all gonna be hidden, so I don't really mind. Now we can put the head back onto the neck. Now I'll just give her another round of shampoo and a boil wash. The hair has been washed and boiled and is now ready for styling. I like to keep my comb handy in this process to make sure the hair is even throughout these steps. So to recreate her original hairstyle, I'm gonna section off the front part of her hair. Then I'll just smooth it out and make sure it will lie nicely on the head. Then I'll use a rubber band to secure the hair in place. For her hairstyle, I'm actually using tips from Disney Barbie Girl, who did a wonderful restoration video on Garden Party Barbie. Next, I will divide this front section into two halves and curl both of them separately. Right now I only have these foam rollers on me, which are not ideal, but they'll have to do. To make sure that the uneven ends curl nicely, you can wrap the hair section in a bit of tissue paper, and then go ahead with using the curler. I'm curling this part of her hair downwards because it will make it easier to recreate her bun later on. And then I'll have to secure this foam roller around her face, which is not ideal. It's a bit too big for her head, but this is what I have, so I'll have to work with it. To make it more secure, I'll use this rubber band at the end. Now I'll do the exact same thing with the other half of the hair. And I'll curl it downwards as well. You can see I secured it with a rubber band too, just to make sure it stays in place. You can also notice a lot of flyaways and shorter hair strands. If this is something that bothers you, I would recommend a full reroute. Next, I'll curl the remaining part of her hair. First, I'll start with the sides. This one I will curl upwards to give her hairstyle a bit more volume once it's dry. The hair is fighting back a bit, but I'm just gonna roll with it. No pun intended. And I'll do the same on the other side. And this one I will curl downwards for more variety. And again, I'm struggling a bit, but I'll make it work. The remaining part of her hair I'll curl downwards again to give it a bit more volume in the end and make sure that it will fall back nicely. Her hair is now all in curlers, and I feel a bit sorry for her because this seems very uncomfortable. I really wish I had smaller curlers. Now to set the curls in place, I will pour a bit of hot water directly onto them. The temperature of the water is now somewhere between 70 and 80 degrees Celsius. Again, please be super careful if you do this. You do not want to burn your hand. Here I'll just make sure that I pour the hot water onto all of the individual curlers. This really helps the Kanekalon hair to take up that shape and hold it better once it dries out. For an even better hold, you can complete this step by pouring some diluted gel on the doll's hair, but I personally haven't tried it yet. And now we just need to wait until her hair dries completely. And here is the final result. Garden Party Barbie restored. I love how she turned out, although I do have to say, I think I could have done a better job with the hair. The curls came out great, but I still think smaller curlers would have done an even better job. I thrifted her dress online and I was able to get the whole set, including this iridescent skirt, which is in good shape, but I think this white cloth was originally sticking to the iridescent foil. It also included her choker, and I gave her these golden earrings, which I think are the same type she came with originally. They were only silver. And since I couldn't find silver ones, I opted for gold. And here's also a side-by-side comparison. And of course, I want to hear what you think about this restoration. Do you like the final results? Do you like this doll, or did you have it as a child? Please share your thoughts with me, as I'm always happy to read them. And again, thank you so much for watching this video, and have a wonderful day.